Hello, welcome to the broadcast as an inset to my introduction for what will be a series of analysis on the political, economic, ethnic, social and religious history and situation in Africa from antiquity to the present. I'd like to start by asking the question, what is an African? The reason I ask this is because no one can seem to agree on what an African is. When you personally hear the term, does it evoke images of a dark-skinned person from sub-Saharan Africa, or perhaps an ethnically diverse continent of varying religious faiths, racial and ethnic groups, all united under the banner of African? Unfortunately, despite what some may believe, there is only one racial demographic native to the continent of Africa, and it's certainly not the Arab Muslim North or the encroaching Chinese and Indian aliens pillaging the continent for no other purpose other than to enrich themselves. Now let's take a brief moment to deliberate on what distinguishes native Africans from the foreign parasites ruining the continental sanctuary of sub-Saharan Africans, with distinct genetic, cultural and linguistic properties, with a plethora of notable parallels common to the Negroid race exclusively. Let's begin with mythology, integral to the culture of any ethnicity, including various sub-Saharan African ethnic groups. Indo-European mythology, Turkic mythology, Japanese mythology, and Mesopotamian mythology are each a distinct mythological genre, and African mythology itself has several branches, including ancient Egyptian mythology. What makes African mythology as a genre distinct, however, is zoolatry, a recurrent theme in virtually all African myths and folklore across the continent, from Pharaoh, the antelope goddess of Mali, to Agasu, the leopard king of Benin, or the serpent Bemba, and the tortoise Enfudu of the Buganda in East Africa. Animals are an essential part of African myth and storytelling. Even in the US, stories like Uncle Remus are derived from the African tale of the tortoise and the hare, and the ancient Egyptian expression, raged like a panther, a metaphor for anger, is found in the tale of two brothers. Now that we are acquainted with sub-Saharan African mythological concepts, an aspect of culture demarcating sub-Saharan Africans from the foreign adversaries that plague the continent, we need to talk about the biggest threats. Firstly, Islam and the Arab race, and China's growing influence on the continent will be addressed in another video. A racial war, ideological and cultural war, have been plaguing Africa for almost 2 millennia, and what Africa needs is a coalition much like that of ancient Greece, when in 480 BC 300 Spartans and an additional 4,000 other Greeks band together to halt the Persian invasion from destroying Hellenic culture and civilization. And in the Bronze Age, the ancient Egyptians fiercely resisted foreign invasion from Mediterranean, Anatolian, and Middle Eastern enemies bent on overthrowing Egyptian imperialism. Today, the black man is confronted with some serious challenges that demand real solutions, or it means the loss of his ancestral homeland, now in the clutches of races that have nothing but disdain for sub-Saharan Africans of any ethnic group. The Arab naturally sees himself as superior to the dark-skinned races of Africa, or men of African descent, and his vile religion of Islam, created as a device in the 7th century AD to unify the warring Arabian kingdoms, is laced with a pernicious ideological substance, a poison the likes of liquid cyanide that destroys anyone that consumes it. All the more reason it needs to be eradicated from the entire continent. Every Quran burned, every mosque demolished, and the Africans' derision directed only toward the Arab. Zeno and Punjab, we must be as fierce as panthers, swift as falcons, tough like crocodiles to liberate Africa from the shackles of a third wave of colonialism.